Hey guys, welcome into another spoiler review. So today's film is Jurassic World Rebirth. I know this one's a little bit late getting out, but such is my life these days. I just don't get the chance to get onto them straight away. But anyways, we're here now. I've got my hoodie on, so it's time to talk about Jurassic World Rebirth. So to give you a brief rundown of the plot, basically you have a mission with these team of experts who are going to a new island that has dinosaurs on the loose, where they're looking to extract DNA from the three largest dinosaurs there, the Titanosaur, the Mosasaur, and the Quetzalcoatlus. And basically, so air, land, and sea, and they got this DNA is going to help them to come up with a medical breakthrough in heart disease, and it's going to save the world from heart disease and all that. So that's their main mission. Obviously, they go to this island, carnage breaks loose, and they get into all sorts of trouble. People die, all of that, and that's basically the overall plot of this film. Before I break down what I liked and what I disliked, I'll give you my overall thoughts, which is that I enjoyed the film. I thought it was decent enough, especially compared to the last couple entries in the Jurassic World franchise. I think this is a step up. I definitely went in with low expectations because of the last couple films, but also the trailers didn't really do it for me. I wasn't really feeling this film based on the trailers, and I felt like they revealed too much. And I think that's still true after the fact of seeing the film, that I feel like I saw way too many things before going in. There was no surprises at all. But that said, just judging it on its own merits, I thought it was decent enough and a step up, and I enjoyed it. Starting off with what I liked. So with Jurassic World Rebirth, I really felt like it got back to basics in the sense that this is just a straight up survival story. Yes, there is a mission at the center of it, but really it's just going to an island with dinosaurs on the loose, and being chased by them, being eaten by them, and all of that. So that's just really back to that kind of basics of like the Lost World and Jurassic Park 3. And it did feel more akin to the Jurassic Park trilogy of the films rather than the Jurassic World trilogy of films. Even though this one is titled Jurassic World, it did feel more like a throwback to the style of those first ones. So yeah, I appreciated that. It was just a return to the basics. Another thing I liked was character development. So I'm not going to say that it was something amazing or it was just like really profound or anything like that, but I just appreciated that they took some moments, especially early on in the film, to actually have some character moments where you get to know a bit of the backstory of Zora Bennett, of Duncan Kincaid, of Henry Loomis, where they've come from and what's driving them in life, why they are going on this mission essentially. And they have a lot of they have a lot of trauma in their past, and to varying degrees, and it's just nice to get that little bit of insight because it makes you feel something for them when you feel they are under threat. And so I appreciated that there was an attempt at some character development that we hadn't really seen in the past few films. We just went a little bit further. I appreciated that, and yeah, it helped set things up a bit nicer going forward. This is a 2 hour film, and I very much think that the first hour is quite strong. I heard a lot of reviews talking about this film where people were saying the first hour is slow and the second one is where it really picks up. I'm kind of the opposite. Yes, I can understand why the first is slower, but I think it's actually better. This is where you get the actual character development. And I felt like the dinosaur scenes that are predominantly in the aquatic setting with the mosasaur and the spinosaurus, I felt like they were way more intense with the build up, kind of Jaws-like scenes that I really was enjoying and I was buying into, and I was really into this is even before they get to the island that they're taking on these dinosaurs. And I thought that it was done really well to build tension, but also kind of just the pacing was nice. It was easing us into the film rather than just thrusting us straight onto the island. It felt like it was a nice way to build the characters whilst also getting a bit of dino action here and there. So the first hour or so for me, like as they were getting to the island, very much is my favorite portion of the film. Another thing I liked was the Titanosaur sequence. So this is basically a rip-off of the Brachiosaurus scene from the first Jurassic Park, and all the films pretty much have done something equivalent to this point. And it's never gonna hit as well as the first film, but I thought this was decent enough that you had like a touching moment with especially Henry Loomis's character interacting with the dinosaur, getting emotional. That's nice to see, like especially that it's his whole career, and getting to actually touch one in the flesh meant that much to him. And the visuals were quite nice too. Bit of a structural issue with the scene where the way the dinosaurs pop up, where you can't see them, and then all of a sudden they're just these huge things that are there, and the characters didn't see them at all. A bit strange, but in terms of the emotional beats, I thought it was nice, and just to kind of see them interacting together. And yeah, like it was a nice kind of sequence to kind of slow things down and just appreciate the beauty and the majesty of these creatures. Another sequence I liked was the T-Rex raft scene. So this is the one that everyone was anticipating because it's essentially lifted from the first novel, and I thought it was done quite well. The build up to it was nice with the tension, with the raft and all that. A bit of tricks with the camera where the T-Rex disappears behind the view of the raft as it's inflated. Things like that. It just kind of slowly builds the tension to the scene. It doesn't just jump you straight into it where they're being chased by a T-Rex. No, it takes its time a little bit to get us, like, just to build that tension and just to make it a bit more thrilling when the chase finally does begin. But I thought it was some of the best CGI in the film in that sequence. I really enjoyed that. And the T-Rex was definitely very intimidating and scary, something we hadn't seen much from the T-Rex in the last few films, which is played more as like a cameo and like a heroic type character. But now it's like just a wild T-Rex trying to kill them. And that was nice to see that kind of side of it once again. And yeah, I like that sequence. It's a shame we didn't get to see more of the T-Rex in this film. That's the only scene it's in, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. And overall, the thing I liked about this film is that it is a self-contained story. So yes, there is potential to build on this film for inevitable sequels, but it is very much self-contained. If it is a one and done film in its own right, and I appreciated that. Whereas the previous Jurassic Worlds were always trying to build off of each other. Even the last one was meant to be the end of a trilogy, yet it seemed like it was very much open to what's next. And this one kind of retcons the events of Dominion, where the dinosaurs are no longer spread throughout the world. They are now pretty much just confined to islands around the equator. And I appreciated that this is a self-contained story. I think Jurassic Park is best in that mode, not when it's trying to do too much world building, but rather when it's just doing individual stories that are self-contained. And now for what I disliked. And the starting off is probably the worst thing, and it's the first scene in the film. So as I mentioned, there's a breakout in a at the very beginning of the film that's set 17 years in the past, where basically there is a malfunction that causes the mutants to break loose. What causes that malfunction? A bloody Snickers wrapper. So one of the scientists in the lab there, it's meant to be, it should be a very sterile setting. It shouldn't be anything like that allowed to go through. He throws a Snickers wrapper on the floor. It flies into the vent of a door, and that door malfunctions, and that causes the whole system of the whole lab to malfunction, and the dinosaur breaks loose. I could not believe when I saw that in the cinema, and the fact that that was the first scene of the film, I was thinking to myself, oh my God, this is going to be a terrible film. If this is the level of writing and storytelling that they're going for, this is going to be mind-numbingly stupid. But thankfully it picked up after that scene, but I just thought that was a terrible way to start the film. You could have come up with any other way to start it other than a Snickers wrapper. Just so stupid to me. Another thing I didn't care for that much was the family subplot. So the main plot of this film is obviously with Zora Bennett, Henry Loomis, Duncan Kincaid, and their mission to extract the DNA. But at the same time, you have a subplot with this family who are stranded and they end up on the island and having to survive all of it and trying to make its way to a certain facility. That really could have done without that. I would have much preferred to have just explored this main group of characters more rather than have to go between them so much. And it really feels like the whole purpose of having that family subplot was to have the T-Rex raft scene. And I feel like if they just restructured things a little bit, they could have had that happen to the main crew, but instead they just sent this other family off on their own adventure and had to encounter the T-Rex that way. And that really felt like the whole reason why they're in the film. Otherwise, they don't really serve anything to the purpose whatsoever. They're constantly having to be saved, and yeah, it just didn't do it for me. And another thing I didn't like specifically with that family is one of the characters, the young boy who's dating the eldest daughter. His name is Xavier, by far the most annoying character in the film. He just acts like an idiot and a buffoon the whole time, and he's really there for comedic value that doesn't really land, takes away seriousness from moments that should be really serious. And he has one really heroic act in the film where he jumps in the water after his girlfriend. It seems almost shocking because you're like, this kid seems like an idiot, but he does something super heroic. And at that moment I was like, oh, he's actually kind of cool. I like him. But then when the dad's thanking him, he acts like a dick once again. And I was like, well, he just ruined all that. And he just continues to act that same way throughout the rest of the film. And it was a complete waste of time along with that family. But within that core family unit, he was by far the most annoying part. Another thing I didn't like was the mutants, and they're actually pretty core to the film, despite not having too much screen time and not being there throughout most of the film until the end. I didn't like the use of mutants. I felt like the dinosaurs are good enough. You don't need to have mutant dinosaurs to try and evoke a scarier emotion from anyone. I feel like we've played this out with the hybrids in the previous Jurassic World films. It was time to just go back to regular dinosaurs, but no, they felt they had to create this rancor slash xenomorph type dinosaur that's huge, that can eat a helicopter. Like, it's just ridiculous. And like, it could work in another film. I didn't feel it for this film. I didn't like it as the predominant ending of the film either, that they were the main like antagonists at play. It was just, I wanted to see just regular dinosaurs being the threat rather than them. Could have easily just had normal raptors and a T-Rex, and I'll explain what should have been the ending for this film at the end of this video. But yeah, I did not appreciate the mutants whatsoever. And the last issue I had is that at the very end of the film, there is a character, Duncan Kincaid, played by Mahershala Ali, who was about to make the sacrifice play. And this is very much would have been a payoff to the setup earlier in the film, talking about his child and his longing for his child, and he's separated from his wife and all of that. And now he has a chance to save a child, and he's been adamant about this throughout the film, trying to save the family. He's very adamant about this. And here's the chance. The Distortus Rex is after them. He's distracting it with the flares so that everyone else can get away. He's about to do the ultimate heroic play so that they can escape and create some emotional weight to that moment. And it looks like he's about to sacrifice himself, but then the very end, he's saved. He shoots a flare up into the air. They go back to rescue him, and they all sail away together happily ever after. I'm torn because I liked his character, but at the same time, I felt like the best kind of way to pay him off would have been to for him to make the sacrifice play, and it would have just added more weight. I get that it would have maybe put a downer on the end of the film. Maybe they should have had a bit more of a drawn out ending to show a bit more like appreciation for what he did, but instead it would have been very dour if he had just died and then they escaped. But I felt like the way narratively it was going, it made way more sense for him to sacrifice himself, and it could have been really emotional if they did. So that's my overall thoughts on the film. By no means a perfect film, but an enjoyable enough one within the Jurassic franchise, and definitely a worthy entry that is kind of a step up from the last couple previous ones. So I'm pleased to say that we have another solid Jurassic Park film that we can enjoy going forward. Now, to talk about the thing that I thought would work for this film, for its ending, to make it way more to make it more enjoyable with just dinosaurs without and not having any mutants, swap the Distortus Rex for the T-Rex and have the T-Rex raft scene be the finale of the film. You can make it more drawn out, more dramatic, and all of that, more tension, but you don't need the mutants to be that main antagonist. Have the T-Rex be the big bad one that they have to get through to escape the island at the very end, and just swap the mutodons for regular raptors. I know they did a scene here in this film that's basically the same as the kitchen scene from Jurassic Park, but didn't need to do that. You can do other creative things with them, but the fact that they were mutodons and the ability to fly didn't really play at all into what they were, how they were trying to pursue them, or didn't make them more threatening in any way. So it just could have just been regular dinosaurs. Just restructure the film a little bit to get rid of the mutants, restructure it so that the T-Rex scene is at the very end and they're having to escape by raft and it's trying to eat them. Make it really dramatic and tense. That would have been a great ending to make the T-Rex and give it a mighty roar at the end of the film like a Jurassic film should have. So I think you could eliminate the mutants and just restructure things a little bit, get the T-Rex and the Velociraptors in at the end, reminiscent of Jurassic Park, that's fine, but I think it would be much more enjoyable. So overall, I give Jurassic World Rebirth a 7 out of 10. I think it was a pretty solid film and I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to watching it again in the future. I don't know where the franchise will go from here. As I said, this is a very self-contained story, which I appreciate, but it does give me kind of some excitement for the future in that I have no idea what they could do, if it's even going to involve these characters or if you're going to go do something completely new, whatever. All the opportunities are on the table. That's a good thing. And yeah, so I'm just happy to say that I enjoyed a new Jurassic World film. And yeah, that's my overall thoughts, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Give this video a like, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.